The Tape in the Wall 1. The House He Didn't Want. Marcus had only met his grandfather once, at the age of 6. The man lived alone, isolated in the sagging house at the edge of the pine forest, a place the rest of the family avoided. When he died, Marcus inherited the property by default. No one else wanted it. He drove up on a gray March morning, mist clinging to the branches. The gravel drive curved through the trees, leading to a house that looked like it had been abandoned for a century. The wood siding was blackened with rot, the windows clouded and broken in places. A dead crow lay stiffly on the porch. Inside was no better. The furniture was draped in mildew-stained sheets, wallpaper peeled in long strips. Everything smelled of mold and forgotten time. But Marcus didn't have a job. He was 6 months behind on rent and hadn't spoken to his ex in weeks. Selling the house could solve everything. First, though, it needed work. 2. Behind the wallpaper. It started upstairs. He chose the hallway because it was small and seemed manageable. The light fixture didn't work, so he used a flashlight clamped to a broomstick for illumination. The wallpaper tore off in sheets, revealing warped plaster underneath, until he uncovered a strange rectangular panel on the far wall, about chest height. It wasn't drywall. It was metal, cold, smooth. A small slot across the middle looked almost like a mail chute. He pried at it with a screwdriver until it clicked open. Dust spilled out. Inside was a VHS tape, unmarked, black. He laughed nervously. Well, that's creepy. There was something else inside the cavity, a tiny, rag-wrapped bundle that crumbled as he pulled it out. Inside were small bones, too small. A rabbit, maybe, or a child's hand. He left it there and took the tape downstairs. 3. A Ghost in Static. He found an old CRT TV and a VCR in the basement beneath a tarp. After 2 hours of cleaning, he got them working. He popped in the tape. The screen flickered, static hissed, then cleared. It was a recording of a bedroom, his bedroom upstairs, though newer, intact. The angle was high, like it had been filmed from inside the wall. A woman entered the room. She was in her 30s, wearing a faded red dress. She looked familiar in an uncomfortable way, like a forgotten memory. She sat on the bed. Minutes passed. Then she began to cry. Silently at first, then violently, with her hands shaking, her face twisted into pure terror. The screen cut. Same woman, same room. Now she was staring directly at the camera. Her mouth was open too wide, jaw slack. No sound. Her eyes were black voids. Then the tape ended, abruptly. 4. The woman in the video. He couldn't sleep that night. Every creak of the floorboards upstairs made him flinch. He dreamt of the woman, standing at the end of his bed, jaw unhinged, eyes screaming. The next day, he went to the library and dug through town records. The house hadn't been owned by anyone else in 60 years. But he found a yellowed newspaper article from 1997. Local woman missing. Melissa Haro, 34, last seen at the Old Ridge Lane property. Owner claims no knowledge of her whereabouts, case unresolved. Marcus stared at the grainy photo. It was the woman from the tape. V. The second tape. Back at the house, he couldn't stop himself. He returned to the wall panel and carefully widened the opening. Behind the insulation, deeper in the cavity, was another tape. And something else. A doll, eyes burnt shut, stuffed into a rusted tin. This tape had a red mark on it, a smear. He played it. This time, the footage showed the hallway upstairs. He saw himself. Himself. From behind, peeling wallpaper, finding the first tape. But someone else was there. In the background, barely visible in the shadows, stood a tall figure. Long arms, No face. Unmoving. He rewound the tape. Paused. Frame by frame, he stepped forward. The figure moved, its head turned. Not toward the Marcus on screen, but toward the camera. 6. Investigation. He called the police. They came, took photos of the tapes, the bones, the tin, and the wall. An officer asked him not to leave town. The detective, a gray-haired man named Powell, seemed skeptical, but took the tapes with him. Marcus felt hollow after they left. The house was silent again, but not still. The next night, he found another VHS tape on his pillow. 7. Spiral. He watched it. It showed his bedroom, now, same bedsheets, same clothes. But the Marcus on screen was asleep, and a woman stood over him. Melissa. Except her face was distorted, twitching with each frame. One eye missing. Her mouth unmoving, but her hand slowly lifted, finger pointing down at him, pointing at you. The camera panned slightly, on its own. Something else stood in the doorway, tall, faceless, head scraping the ceiling. Then, blackness. 8. Powell's return. Detective Powell showed up the next morning. "We can't find the tapes," he said. "They never made it to evidence." "What?" Marcus said. "They're just gone. The officer who logged them doesn't exist." "I think I'm losing it." "You're not. I think there's something about that house," Powell said quietly. "You're not the first." He handed Marcus a list of 3 names, people who'd lived in the house, all missing. He didn't stay long. That night, Marcus heard something move through the walls, a dragging sound. Then a knock. Tap, 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 from inside the wall, behind the panel. He didn't open it. Instead, he left, slept in his car. But the dream came anyway. He was standing in the hallway, the panel was open, a tape slowly slid out, pushed by a skeletal hand. A voice whispered from behind, "You shouldn't have watched." He went back one last time, to finish it. He tore down the entire hallway wall. Behind the plaster was a crawl space, maybe 4 feet wide. In it were dozens, hundreds of VHS tapes, stacked, numbered, dusty, all unmarked. At the far end was a metal chair bolted to the floor. And blood. Dried black on the floor and walls. He grabbed one tape and ran. He stayed in a motel 3 towns over. On the TV, he played the new tape. The footage was live, now. His room. It showed him watching the tape, but not alone. Behind him, in the grain of the screen, stood Melissa. Just her shape. Silent. Watching. He turned around. No one. He looked back. On the screen, closer now. She raised her hand, pressed it against the inside of the TV glass, and whispered, "You're next." Marcus is gone now. The house still stands, empty mostly. Sometimes a light flickers upstairs. Sometimes the mailman finds a package on the porch, always the same size. And if you ever find an unmarked VHS tape, don't play it. Don't look at the woman. Don't listen when she whispers your name. Because once you've seen her, she sees you.